Hello. So this is the third interview of our series. I'm here with Churaig, and he has just finished the Sexological Bodywork training with the Januma in Australia this year, and is about to get certified. So he's here to share with us his experiences, and we're looking forward to talking to him. So, hey, Churaig.
Hi Jay, how are you?
Doing well. Cool.
Good.
So, yeah, if you'd like to share a bit about your background and how you came across sexological bodywork for our audience, that would be great.
Sure. Look, I've got a really uh, varied background. I've done lots of different things in my life. I've been a hypnotherapist and an NLP and done bodywork and uh, lots of shamanic training around the world, and but also been a school teacher and a manager and done lots of stuff. But I think I first got to know about this through doing men's work, and I was at a men's gathering here in Australia, and Deej, one of the trainers for sexological bodywork, came along and ran a workshop, and I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. and and it got me really
Yeah.
really curious. And
What about it? What was, yeah.
ah, look, I suppose I I imagine most people are totally fascinated by sex, right? That's my image.
Yeah.
So I've carried that all my life, a total fascination with it, and just the stuff that Deej got us to do in this workshop, I was just like, oh, I feel that like it just had this real sense of. Uh, I think at the time it had a sort of a coming home kind of sense, but
Mm,
then that feeling of coming home has just grown more and more as I've done more and more of this work. But
mm.
and each time I do more, it's like, oh, so now I'm really home. But yeah, there was just this real like, oh wow, that's something that I need to follow. Yeah, so
Home as in, is that the body experience, the being here, present, or
yeah, just
connection,
I
like
think
that?
just occupying my body in a way that I hadn't experienced before. Like I think
Mm,
maybe like if I say that I'd had a fascination with sex before, it was probably a lot of it was up here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of it in my head, I think. Yeah. And whereas suddenly I was like in my body with it, and it was like, oh, this is different. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that felt experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then and I didn't jump straight in. I actually, there's been quite a few years since I discovered the work, and each year I'd be like, oh, I should do that, I should do that. But then uh, I I went and did some journeys with plant medicine. I'd watched a lot of friends sort of go off and to the Amazon and come back, sort of
Mm.
having discovered, sort of what their gifts were and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, that's something I need to check out. And what I got was this: the plant would speak into my ears, pleasure, pleasure, your path is pleasure.
Mm.
What am I supposed to do with that? And then sort of put sexological bodywork and this sort of coaxing that pleasure was my pathway together,
Mm.
and kind of went, I really need to do that training. And so,
Ah,
yeah, I found my way to it. Yeah.
awesome. And so how
Yeah.
was it when you went going from the
Oh,
pleasure voice to the experience of it?
well,
Yeah.
like the training's huge. Like it takes place over, 6, 7, 8 months, and it is an enormous journey.
Mm.
And so it's split up in 3 modules. The first module is a lot of learning, but in a very I guess there's a lot of engagement with new material
Mm.
through video, through conversation, through conference calls, through learning anatomy and physiology. But at the same time, you're actually putting it into practice both in your own body
Mm.
and working with others. And it's just this roller coaster ride, that first 3 months of like taking on all this new information and
Uh,
into practice both in self and with others. And then we
yeah.
kind of show up in this space together to do this intensive, and that is just
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's a very special experience, really special.
Was it challenging? Were there
Uh,
like these big openings, awakenings, and how?
um,
Give us a little bit of the roller
well, I'm going
coaster.
to go back to that phrase of coming home. Like I think
Mm.
is such a beautiful connecting up with people who are all interested in the same thing.
Yeah.
We're sitting with this really core human stuff of sex, sexuality, eroticism, intimacy,
Yeah.
and learning it in a really embodied way. And it just, it is an opening. You are, yeah, it's an incredible opening to self, but to others. I mean,
Mm.
just such beautiful moments in the training. But you know, alongside that, such significant learning, and it it truly. I've not felt so embodied before, and I've done a lot of stuff along the way. Yeah. So.
Any particular moments that jump to
Oh,
mind there? I know there's
yeah. Oh, look, it could be something quite. It could just be looking into the eyes of someone and kind of looking at them, kind of think, really knowing that this person who's standing across from me uh,
yeah.
is experiencing is experiencing this real deep sense of embodiment in the same way, and just a lot drops away.
Mm.
Um, be really embodied. Like, I think I didn't really understand the word embodiment until I had the experience, and
Experience
so,
of it.
yeah, and to be in those moments with just one other, or with the whole room, and
Mm.
somebody looking around and going, you know, like we're doing an exercise, and we might just be dancing, you know, but it's this incredible sense of freedom where my mind is not in the room.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, like if I were to go out
Yeah.
to a dance club and dance, then my mind's still with me, kind of like, you know, I don't quite drop my mind completely. But somehow, in the way in which we get together and connect up in an embodied way, there were so many moments during the intensive where I just didn't feel like my mind was in the room, and I was just there, you know. Yeah.
Just
So,
being in that flow. Wow. That's
yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so could you share a bit about Deej and Uma's style? How did they create this
Yeah.
field, and that this like how does that intensive
Well, one of the things I
coaching
like
run?
is I have a background in education, and I'm really interested in train. I've been a trainer and an educator, a teacher, and
Mm.
so what I love about it is that they have this model of teaching,
Mm.
which aim to be somatic or embodied,
Mm.
and they actually keep doing this moment of stepping back and going, "Hey, what are we doing here?" So they unpack the teaching method as we go,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, and which I really love, taking that sort of meta position
Yeah.
of the teaching,
Like as they're teaching, they're explaining how they're teaching you.
how they're
So,
teaching, and
okay.
actually we each of us has to take an opportunity to teach something along the way.
Ah,
So we're taught the model, where the model is modeled, and then we actually deliver using it. And I really have this clear sense of the model, and I see how it aids embodiment really well, because it's this sort of three, you know, without giving it away, you know, without going into it, because people will come and
yeah.
learn about it. But it's a beautiful model for teaching, which I wish I'd known when I'd done a lot of my other teaching. Yeah,
Ah. When you
yeah,
say the model is modeled, what does that
yeah.
mean actually?
What does that mean? What I mean is that everything that's done is done using the model. So
Okay.
whether it's a 90-minute session, a 30-minute session, or a whole day session,
Mm.
you see how the model's being put into place.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and
This teaching
especially,
model.
yeah, this teaching model.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, this embodied teaching model, which
Oh,
really works well. Yeah, and it's repeated again and again and again, which I think as a student gave me a real sense of ease, and I could
mm,
just allow myself to drop in, and because I could see what the pattern was
mm.
of how we were going to learn this next new thing, and then the next new thing, and the next new thing, and I knew what the progression. I didn't know how the progression would go, but I kind of knew what the pattern of the progression would look like. And it's really good. It's very
Cool.
good. Yeah.
And you mentioned before you had just done the 25 sessions
Yes. Yeah.
afterwards. So
Yeah. Third module. Yeah.
you able to bring that in from the intensive into the sessions and use that?
Yeah. Well,
How's that?
it's like the third module of delivering, you know, of doing the work.
Mm.
Uh, it's just been this whole other layer of learning, because I've been really
Yeah.
impressed is that most of my 25 sessions have been with repeat clients slash students, as we call them.
Mm,
And and so it's really wonderful to walk alongside someone as they, as they come along, and people might be coming from
mm,
quite a new place where this is a
yeah.
whole area to them, and other folks come and they're quite experienced already.
Mm,
And to go on a journey with people and to support them to discover more of what they want to discover about their pleasure or their body
yeah.
or their intimacy or sexuality, etc.
Could
It
you
really,
share?
hey,
Oh, yeah. Could you share a bit of some of the journeys or the transformations that
oh,
and
sure.
topics?
Um, I immediately think to confidentiality because
Yeah, actually, that's a
I
good
can
point.
talk about.
Yeah, without
Um,
anything identifiable, maybe
yeah,
just some
sure, sure, sure.
themes that
Um,
so people
Look,
can get a flavor of the
absolutely.
work.
Look,
Yeah.
well, what amazes me is that I suppose as a person for whom pleasure is their path, and
Mm,
who's been exploring that for a long time,
mm,
I've been quite astounded at how cut off some folks are from pleasure in their bodies, and to take somebody from a place where really their whole of their sexuality is rooted in their genitals,
mm,
and they really don't have much awareness of the rest of themselves erotically,
mm,
uh, is quite it's quite remarkable to introduce people to this idea of how sound, touch, breath, movement, awareness can open them up to feeling more, and how learning about different types of touch, being authentic with consent, and
mm,
just is real core building blocks of the sexological bodywork. Um,
yeah.
can really make such a difference to a person, and to see the shift in people even week to week, just by discovering that there's more parts of their body, or that uh, adding breath or sound to their practices, or their masturbation, or their journey with their partner,
Yeah.
suddenly revolutionizes how they feel about themselves, about their own body, about intimacy. It's the gift to witness it, to sort of go along that journey with people. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah. That's
yeah.
so exciting that you've been able to see that and help people journey through that already. Cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. I get very excited when I talk about
Cool.
it. Yeah.
And so how are you going to take this into your life and work? You mentioned you're moving to a new place, and so you're going to
Yeah, I
yeah,
am moving to a small town, and
yeah.
although I'm going to take it slow. I guess when people ask, what's this work about, I could
Mm,
talk about sexological bodywork, and a lot of folks are like, oh, what does that mean? But if I say, well, actually, we're somatic sex educators, and soma means the body, people are like, oh, that's interesting, and I really want to go and offer lots of workshops and focus on that sex education part of it. And then, as I build up relationships with people, I'll be offering sessions with people. So I
yeah,
really am enjoying this sort of dual role of body worker slash sex educator. And the sex education seems like a really great way to bring people in. And I think you can do as much in a group
yeah,
using that teaching model that I was talking about,
yeah, yeah,
as you can with an individual. So
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and that's an important part too, that Deej and Uma teach group leading as well, not just
yes,
individual
yes.
sessions.
No, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Or
Okay.
couples, or
Or
thruples, or
couples.
yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
And then lastly, for the people who are thinking of doing the training, what thoughts or advice do you have for them?
Yeah. Do it. um,
Yes.
yeah. No. Look, it's ah. I can't believe I waited so long to do it.
Mm,
I sort of, I guess, having been focused on sex, I had lots of sort of shadowy bits in me around sex, and so that held me back from doing it. But it's been such a kind of crack open kind of it's cracked
yeah,
me open.
yeah,
And I've had other things crack me open, but this real deep sense of embodiment has
Yeah.
really come into me. And I think that for me, the training is as much a personal journey as it is, taking on a bunch of skills to be able to share it with other people. Like the personal growth or change or shift
Yeah.
has been so wonderful, such a delight. And so, yeah, I really encourage people to see it as two things. It's not just about a professional training;
Yeah.
it's also a
Yeah.
beautiful personal training. Yeah,
And you mentioned something really important, the shadows, because we all
yeah,
have them. And
yeah.
I came into this work with a huge savior complex, so
Okay,
I
yeah,
had to, which I had to then work through as those issues came up.
yeah,
But could you say a bit more about that? Because sexuality, we all have these shadows and our wounds around
yeah.
it too, and we're coming to heal them in ourselves and in others in the world. So,
Well,
how?
definitely, look, I could talk from my own perspective, and definitely mine was to repress. It's like,
Mm,
oh, I'm really interested in that. Oh, shove that down. Oh, I really
mm,
want to do that. Oh, this partner I'm with wouldn't want me to do that. Like I would just find all these excuses to repress,
uh,
and in doing the work, I've just found really great ways. Like I've released that constant repressing,
yeah,
which doesn't just hold me back in the area of sex and sexuality and intimacy and stuff. Like if I'm repressing, then there's a whole bunch of repression going on, and so I
yeah,
just feel like I've got more liveliness available to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so that's my personal thing around it. But and I think everybody's got a slightly different take. I mean, but I see shame in people, around sex, and I think that's the biggest shadow is the shame, which our whole
yeah,
culture is set up to.
yeah. And
to
as you said, our shame and that repression of our sexuality is also a repression of our creativity and our power, our aliveness. And so, yeah,
yeah,
so for anyone else out there with those fears and things, we completely understand. We've been there, and
yeah,
this is an opportunity to work through that personally as well. So, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
cool. Any last words, Craig? For
Ah,
that. There's always.
look, I think a laugh and a breath and a, um, I, I think, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Just it's so delicious to have these very, um, in many ways, simple techniques to come
yeah,
back to the body. And I think the more that we're in our bodies, the just the easier the world is, really. Mm.
yeah,
At a time when the world is not so easy.
yes.
Yeah.
We
So,
can build some in ourselves.
yeah.
Thank you. That's a
Thank you.
really beautiful note to end on. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview, and we'll be back with you next time. Okay. Bye, Craig.
See you, Joe.
Okay.